Hey everybody.
Hello.
Wel-
Welcome.
welcome to Trail Talk. We're back in the Chuck Wagon studio today. I'm Edie,
I'm Mary.
and we are going to talk to you about Bobcats and Bobwhites. And I kind of thought that was a fun little title.
Matchup.
Yeah, a little matchup there.
The two Bobs.
Hopefully, all of you watching know what Bob Whites really are, but we're going to get to that here in just a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. So first, that means we are going to talk about bobcats.
They're so cute.
They really are, and they look like they're very playful. I don't know, Scott. There we go. So we have a bobcat right here, and he does look like he might be playing with these birds, but he might not be
He
playing.
might be looking for dinner.
Yes, he might be looking for dinner because our friends, the bobcats, are meat eaters, carnivores, and birds are one of their favorite
Meal time.
Yeah, I would think that they might be
Favorites.
some of the most difficult to catch.
They're pretty feisty, squirmy, fast.
The birds,
Mhm.
they are. But these bobcats are very stealthy. They have their feet are really big.
You notice here, it is really, look how padded.
Yeah. Their feet are big and padded, and so they are almost silent. They can
Just
really
kinda just
sneak
sneak
up.
up.
hmm
And kind of just
Yeah,
follow you.
they're very sneaky. And so they're probably able to sneak up and get close enough that they could leap
And able to catch at the
and
same time.
catch the birds because can't they jump
12 feet.
12 feet? I mean, that's quite a distance.
It's like two grown men.
Exactly, yeah. So they could really jump after something.
And if the birds didn't know what was making the noise, they could jump right to them.
Right,
Make it
exactly.
easier for 'em.
Exactly. And um, in a few minutes, we'll talk about actually these birds.
The birds.
And explain why they might be some that get caught.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so bobcats, I believe, are the most abundant, most common, probably,
Mm-hmm.
wild cat in this part of the country.
Right. I think we've talked earlier in our Trail Talk series that if you see what you would think would be like a
Mountain
wolf
lion
or
or-
something,
right,
you're
yeah.
more than likely to see a mountain lion or like a bobcat.
Right.
If you were to hear something like that at night.
Yeah. I mean, of course, not howling.
Right.
They are
the same
cats.
kind of
Yeah.
noise.
Movement.
Mhm.
Yeah, walking. Yeah, for sure. Because they are crepuscular.
Big word.
Right, big word, fun to say too. Crepuscular. When we have kids here, I always like for us to try to say it together. So that means that they become active before darkness, and as much as 3
3
hours before. And so they will hunt until maybe midnight, and then they'll take a break, go to sleep, eat what they already
What they found for the evening.
right? And then they'll hunt again
Right before
the sun comes up,
Uh-huh.
and then kind of into the daylight time a little bit. So they have 2 hunting times a day. And I believe as the seasons change,
So does their hunt? They kind of change with the seasons according to what their prey, what their prey habits are. What their sleeping habits, and so they will adapt.
Okay,
that
so
way.
with like shorter days,
Mhm.
longer nights,
Right.
they
Time
might.
change, the time, especially here in the
True.
summertime, we have more daylight hours,
Mhm.
and then in the winter, of course, we have less.
Mhm.
So they adapt to that.
And probably they would, well, for instance, like these, like birds like this, they are more during the day.
Mhm.
They're
Right.
diurnal, so that probably would be kind of what they would switch up to, because besides the birds, they would go after rabbits, mice, squirrels, and I mean, everybody knows squirrels are
Majorly active. In
yeah,
daytime.
they're big time active during the day, so I can see where that would be a profitable time
for them to
them.
be active in a
Yeah, for sure. So, I think it's kind of okay. So they're about 3 times the size of a house cat.
So it's pretty good size.
Right, right. And they don't look that big. I mean, we don't have anything for perspective on this picture. But you can see from this guy over here, that would be a super big house cat.
Yes.
If you had one that big.
Pretty big.
Yeah. But the male is a tom.
Yes.
Just like in the cat world.
Right. Female queen.
A queen. She's the queen of the beast. Right. I think that's kind of.
I think that should be for all females.
I do too. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
adapting to that.
Yeah, we're gonna vote. We're gonna have a vote. Everyone in favor.
Aye.
And then the babies are kittens,
just like your normal house cat would be, right?
And
group names,
the
however.
Group names are very interesting. They are called a clouder, a clutter, or a pounce.
Which those aren't what you would think grouping names would be called.
No, not at all. Although it's interesting that would have to be a family group, because something that we learned is that bobcats live alone except when they're mating. So that group thing would,
family.
I think it would be a family group.
You wouldn't see them in groups traveling.
Right,
they do travel in solitary.
You know, prides of lions. I mean, I guess they all are kind of related, but you know, that's more of a family thing, and they are in a group together. They kind of do that wolf kind of thing where they're in a group.
Leader.
Right, but you know, be kind of like typical cats. To be kind of loners, we don't need
every cat I've ever had. Just leave me alone.
Feed
me, I'm good.
Right. At night or during the day, whenever it is, whatever season it is, they are out hunting. They can travel quite a ways, like 2 to 7 miles in the same little hunting area where they frequent. So if you see a bobcat in an area, you see it repeatedly, it's probably the very same bobcat.
Right. And probably not far from where they
live. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We were kind of discussing, you know, they have the 2 separate hunting times, whether they actually go out and then go back to where they live.
It's going to be a long time.
Twice a day, you know, or do they go out and then take a break somewhere else? I guess it might depend on the size of prey and whether or not they have kittens they have to take food back to, maybe something like that. That probably
have a good
Yeah.
Good reason for it.
Right. So like all cats, they're really good climbers.
Good hearing.
Yes. You know, they're real aware of their surroundings.
Skittish almost.
Yeah, exactly. And alert.
Yeah,
probably would
alert's
be
a good word.
Yeah, that would describe that. But they can run really fast. Like, what was it?
Up to 34 miles an hour.
34 miles an hour. But that's just for a short time.
Right. They can't withstand that for a long period of time, but they can have the bursts up to 34 miles.
Yeah, which would mean that they could really go fast, but they can jump 12 feet. They can run 34 miles an hour. They can also jump 6 feet high, like they can clear a 6-foot fence without touching it. They don't have to like kind of climb up it and bounce off the top of it. They can
free jump.
Yeah, right over the top of it.
They can jump over
I'm kind of like
easy.
a bobcat. No, just kidding.
Give her some space.
Girls got no jumps at all right here. And so they are they kind of vary in color. You know, the first one, I'll go back to that slide, kind of a brown with the black spots. Their tail has a black tip.
And it's bobbed.
And it's bobbed, hence the name. You know, the typical cat would have a long tail, and the fur is always white on the underside. But you'll see this one looks a little more gray, and then here's another one. I think this one looks very much like a house cat in the face.
It does.
But that is a picture of another bobcat. And then here's the interesting thing, okay? Bobcats have false eyes on the backs of their ears.
You just look at it, it looks like eyes.
But these play a very big role in the just the bobcats' way of protecting themselves, protecting their kittens, and because even though they are predators, they are not at the top of the food chain.
They are not on that large end.
They are considered prey for
many.
Cougars and wolves, especially.
Right, and then their kittens are prey.
Right, to smaller, like coyotes, even owls.
They can just come by and pick them right up.
Right, because their kittens are small when they're born.
I mean, you think of a house cat when they're born, they're
very
tiny,
in
the palm of your hand.
Very tiny. And speaking of the house cats, some house cats have been known to actually adopt
and take them in.
And take in the baby bobcats if they're orphaned and need a mama.
Yeah, I think it's just so sweet.
I do too. I wonder how fast they outgrow their mama.
Know.
I have a feeling it might happen a
the
little
baby's like,
faster.
all right, well, they don't really fit in here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna move on.
One of these things is not like the others. They have, say, 1 to 6 kittens in a litter, and those are born in April and May. So they just have
spring.
One. They just produce one
per season.
One litter per season. But these ears, so they look a little bit like eyes looking at you, and that's on the backs of their ears. So if they sense danger, they will flatten those down, and so it looks like bigger eyes on a bigger head, which our information says can frighten off other bobcats, which I find that to be a little bit, I don't know, a little
ironic.
Yes, because I'm thinking that the other bobcats like, oh, I know what you're doing.
I know that secret.
Right, but I don't know, maybe it does work.
It may work.
Can
be territorial type.
Right. I mean, their coloration does allow them to be very camouflaged. But a larger animal, a bear, a cougar, anything like that, they could definitely give the impression, especially if they are up in a tree, that they are a much bigger animal
than what they are.
Yeah. And so that's one thing that the false eyes do. When they are eating or drinking something, those are down again.
So they're not really paying attention to their surroundings. They're busy doing something, but they're still protecting themselves.
Right. Yes. Their ears still protect them. So, I mean, that's a really important part of their coloration.
It is. And they all have it, no matter what color they are.
Right. Whether they're brown or gray, they're going to have that kind of coloration on them. And that is really important when they're protecting their kittens.
Because they will.
Right. And they, the kittens are much more susceptible. They're mammals. They're mammals, so they are born with their eyes closed, and so they're helpless for the first few weeks of their lives. And so they do have to have, a number of ways to protect themselves. They're not the largest cat out there. And so anyway, that's just a little bit of information that we have about the bobcat. And bobcats are very, very common
in our area.
Yeah, in this area.
All the time you'll see them.
In fact, there was, I don't know if there still is now, but a couple of years ago, there's a creek just on the east side of where the museum is. And there was a bobcat.
You could see sometimes early in the mornings coming into work. And things.
Yeah, there's a bobcat that lived over in that, it's kind of a wooded creek area. And so, sometimes, and they are known to travel to towns, communities in search of food. We've talked about other animals that do that very same thing because their natural habitat is disturbed by humans.
Right. So they have to eat. They have to come in looking for
so
food.
they come looking for things. And there's always an abundance of raccoons and possums and squirrels around town. So
roadkill.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, armadillos and all of that.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to go on and talk about these birds, which are the bobwhites or quail, the bobwhite quail. And that's just so happens to be what our bobcat is trying to catch. He's not just playing a little game or waving at these quail. He is actually trying to catch them. And these quail, we actually have male and female both in this exhibit. The male have white on their chin and on their heads, and their beaks are black top and bottom. The females, this one is a female right here. Yeah, let's look at this one right here. Her beak is yellow on the bottom side. I can't really turn her very well. This one up here is a little easier to see. It's got it. Anyway, the beak is yellow on the bottom side, and their heads are kind of a more buff cream color tan. Yeah, they are not, they don't have any white on them. You can see how clear the white is on the male, and then the female's head is just kind of a buff color.
Blends into their front there.
Right, and she probably is a little more camouflaged, I would think.
You think that
because of that, because of the color. And they're roughly the same size. The males might be a little bit bigger than
maybe
the females.
A little bit, but
yeah.
Generally speaking.
Here, let me move on. I forgot to change my picture.
Here we
go. Obviously, this is a male. We see the big white throat, the white stripe on the head, the black beak, black on the bottom, and there's really quite a bit of difference between the two. Now they are not meat eaters.
Nope, they're herbivores.
So they're going to eat plants, seeds, maybe an insect or two, just depending, I guess, on what is in the area where they live. But quail are very common birds.
Very.
For this area. We, as a kid, I used to go quail hunting with my dad. And I was telling Mary, you know, you train a bird dog to spot the quail and to point at them, and then the hunter you will get your gun ready, and then they will flush out the birds, which means I guess they jump at them, run towards them, and the birds fly up, and so then it's like shooting skeet if you can follow them and hit them.
Right.
And so that tells us something about the quail. They actually spend most of their lives on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
They nest on the ground. They live on the ground. When they fly,
brush and things.
Right. Yes, and grass. You know, not just out on the.
Open
but there's
prairie.
like a tall grassy
like
area. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Like this display looks. But they. So when they fly, it's for like 5 seconds.
Not very long.
Yeah. So you really got to get a shot off pretty fast.
You got to be ready when that dog goes in.
Yes, and because in 5 seconds they can fly 150 feet. So even though their wings, I mean, everything seems very small. If you've ever,
it's very productive.
It varies.
They make good time.
Yeah. If you've ever eaten a quail, it takes several to fill you up. I mean, the little breast is only like this. It's like maybe a ping pong ball or something. I mean, it's
like a chicken bite.
Yeah, it's very small. And if you, I can't remember. It seems like maybe there's a thigh, you know, that you eat also, and it's really smaller than the breast meat. I mean, they're just tiny little
bite-sized
little
birds.
bites. Yeah, toss the bone. But I mean, it is tasty.
I've never eaten one that I've known.
Yeah, well, I think you would know because they're so small. The wing, yeah, there's a little tiny little
hot quail wings.
Yeah, it's like just one little
appetizer.
Yeah, very small
one.
appetizer. Yeah. But anyway, so they eat seeds, grains, insects, and they have this little throat thing.
What's
it called?
It's a gullet. Near it says it's
a crop. The crop. It's called a crop, and so it's inside the gullet, this esophagus, and it's kind of just a pocket where they can store a bunch of food, and then I guess that way they let it go to their stomach.
It says they can go without food for quite a while because they must store it there.
They must, and you know, I wonder
if part of its digestive tract.
I wonder if they, regurgitate it to feed the babies. You know,
they could.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see birds that do that.
Right.
I don't know if quails are one of those.
I really am not sure either. But quails, I mean, they kind of have this act. Okay, they're actors. So one thing they do is like if they sense someone, danger, a predator, they'll freeze. hopefully they'll be camouflaged and they won't be
Predator
spotted.
will
Yeah,
go
we'll
away.
go on. But if they have babies,
This is so strange.
yeah, they act like they have a broken wing. And so they'll kind of walk around and drag their wing to try to distract the predator
away
and take it away from the babies. Yeah, and then when the predator's not expecting it, boom, they take off and fly. In 5 seconds, they're really far away. So they're kind of clever as far as all that goes.
That motherly
instinct, right?
Right.
Although from what I understand, the males and females both
they do have a part in raising them.
Yeah, they kind of work together to protect their families. And they do have a lot of predators. I mean, besides our friend the bobcat, they're not very big, but I mean, cats, skunks, fox, snakes, owls, dogs, and of course the human hunter.
Which we just talked about.
Yeah. So
they're not very safe.
Yeah, and they're on the ground, which all of those animals that we just named
pretty much live on the ground.
Yeah.
But I did read that they have recorded history of being on the earth up to 2.5 million years ago.
Wow.
So
they may be,
even though they may not survive along on the ground like a long lifespan, they've been around for a long time.
Right. Although I think they do live for like 6 years or something in the wild.
I can't remember. I wrote it down somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think it was about 6 years in the wild.
Yeah, survived 6 years.
That's only about half the life that a bobcat would have in the wild. But I mean,
it's longer than what you would think.
Right.
For a bird like that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So talking about the little babies, when they are first hatched, I mean, the eggs are small, and I'll show you a picture of eggs here in a little bit, but you can tell they're very camouflaged right here. The whole beak is orange, so you can't tell by looking at this baby whether it's a male or female yet. It hasn't really developed that coloration, distinct male or female coloration. But it's about the size of a bumblebee. I mean, when it's first born.
About the size of the knuckle here.
Yeah, I mean it's a tiny little creature whenever it first hatches out, and so they definitely need
protection.
Yes, a lot of protection. And the baby, they call them chicks, just like you would, and the females will lay 10 to 20 eggs roughly at one time.
Yep.
And
they'll hatch in 23 to 24 days, so just shy of a month.
Yeah, about three plus weeks. And but they are gone. They leave the parents pretty quick after that, don't they? I mean, it was just about 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks.
They're mature enough that they can leave. And so the females end up having 2 or 3 broods a year. So they repopulate
really fast.
Yeah. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
With 20 to 30 from one female quail. And a group of quail, they have different names. A covey is the name I have always known.
Flock.
A flock is one, or a bevy. A bevy. A flock of birds. That's kind of a general term. I've never heard of a bevy of quail or bobwhites, but that's another name that people use sometimes. So here, let me show you these eggs. So these are quail eggs compared to chicken eggs. Okay. And again, even the eggs are camouflaged because they're on the ground.
They kind of look like cow spots to me.
They do, yeah, look like a little cow.
Dalmatian type.
Yeah, exactly. But notice the size difference. And you may have seen these. I think that this is maybe kind of a more recent thing, but I have been seeing like in stores on shelves where they have salsas and jellies and jams and things. I've been seeing jars of pickled quail eggs. I haven't tried any yet, even though I do like to eat a pickled egg now and then. I haven't, but they are just so small, so very small. But I mean, when you only have a bumblebee size creature
Right, I tried some
inside.
horn, yeah. They're hatched.
Inside that, that's really all that it takes. Now, one other interesting picture that we have.
Look closely, if you will.
Yes, exactly. So these, now you can kind of start picking out the males from the females here. This is probably a brood of quail, a week or so old.
Right,
I'm
they're not
guessing maybe
old enough to leave.
we don't really have anything to compare to show what the size, what their size is. But this is one way that they sleep together. All quail will do this, and it's a way to conserve their body heat and keep each other warm. And it kind of is one of those things where you think you might say stare at the middle of it and
an optical illusion.
Yeah, well, pull your eyes back and you're going to see something 3D come out at you. That's I'm just messing. That doesn't really.
Yeah.
But I want you to see. Can you pick out the male from the female? See, I believe this is a male. Those are both male, and those over there.
This one.
Yeah, that one is a female. You can actually see it right there. See the bottom of the beak? Yep. It's yellow, and you can definitely tell black top and bottom. You can't really see, but this one I think is getting that larger black streak, and I think it's gonna turn white, but you can tell these up here very easily are male. And so here, even this at this age, you can see the difference.
They start changing very quickly.
You know, that other one was just dark stripes.
Yeah, nothing like that color.
So they change very quickly. They mature very quickly.
Well, when they're ready to leave the nest in 2 to 3 weeks, it would be a rapid development of change.
Right. And they learn to fly, I guess, roughly about that same time. But you know, they don't fly all that often. So
and it's just short bursts, more or less. They don't like migrate.
So you will never see a covey of quail up in the sky, you know, moving from one place to the next. And so that's one reason, I guess, that they stay. You know, you can almost always find quail in an area if you know where they nest. They're not going to go somewhere for the winter or anything like that. So that's a animal that you can definitely hunt. And so these animals again are diurnal.
Which that means they're active during the
day. Yes. So they're going to be out during the daytime, and you don't have to go. You know, some of those animals like deer that are going to become active at daylight or dusk. You don't have to go out and wait for them. These birds are going to be awake and active during the day.
Same time that you are.
And so you can just go out anytime and find them. You know, you don't have to be hunting them.
Right.
You could go out and find quail almost any time. And I think that is about all the information we have. We have here at the Heritage Center, we have this cool sound box that we keep by our animal diorama, and it has some animal sounds, and we actually have the bobcat and the bobwhite. And for those of you who don't know why the quail are called bobwhites, it's because of the sound that they make. Scott, can you hit that? Can you tell he's saying Bob White? Bob White. So that's where they get that name,
their name.
For calling the quail bobwhites, which I always thought was
the kids always love it.
They do, yeah.
They always like, you see the light bulb go off.
Bob White. And then we also have a bobcat sound. So prepare yourselves. Okay.
Remember, this is just a sound.
Yeah. He sounds very angry.
Very angry. Very raspy.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to listen to the bobcat again. As cute and friendly as they look on the screen, yes, do not approach. I think the bobcat's making it quite clear. Stay your distance away. So that's everything we
So we
have on our
double Bob day.
On Double Bob, yes, Bobcat and Bobwhite. Thanks for joining us, Stefan. How are you? It's good to see you back. And be sure and tune in tomorrow. Trail Talk, 2:00 tomorrow. We have Linda Gunther coming, and she is a photographer who just creates these amazing masterpieces with editing. And she's going to talk to us about editing and photography tips and bring some of her works with us. Yeah, it's going to be a really good show. So be sure you tune in tomorrow at 2:00.
2:00?
Yeah, 2:00. And we are so glad you joined us today. And so we'll just sign off now. And you guys know what to do. Stefan, unmute yourself, all the others on Zoom, and we'll say happy trails on 3.
And if you're on Facebook, you
can...
can...
Oh, on Facebook, you can play along. You can play along. We're not that we won't be able to hear you, but okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Happy
trails.